protest. It's good to see so many different groups out here to say no to the FBI attacks and the raids. Will we be intimidated, those of us from the anti-war movement? No! Will we, who are with the civil rights and the and the pro-human rights movement, will we be intimidated? No! An injury to one is an injury to all. And all of us have agreed in these last couple of days, no matter what group we're from, that we will rally in support of the activists who've been under these vicious FBI attacks. For people my age, we remember very clearly what it meant when Dr. King was under attack. We know what it meant when the Black Panther Party was under attack by the FBI. We remember the vicious COINTEL program, the frame-ups, the intimidations, the murders, and etc., all the rotten tricks of the FBI. And we're not going to be fooled. This time we're saying FBI hands off of the anti-war activists, hands off the solidarity activists. Their only crime was solidarity with the Palestinian people, solidarity with the people of Latin America, of Colombia. That's their crime, and we're saying no, solidarity is not a crime. My name is Sharon Black, and I'm the national coordinator of the Bail at the People movement and a regional coordinator for the International Action Center here in Washington, D.C. and in Baltimore.
And this is very arbitrary to think, why did they choose these groups? Why did they choose Minneapolis and Chicago? Well, I think they made a huge mistake. I think they made a huge mistake in doing this in the first place, and they made a huge mistake in picking precisely Minneapolis and Chicago, because these are tight-knit communities. They are communities with large progressive populations, and they are communities where even people who are not in the progressive population are outraged. They are communities that really have deep-seated beliefs in the First Amendment rights. So it is quite amazing that the day after the raids, there were already several hundred people at a press conference there to support the people whose homes were raided. So there is a movement, as you know, throughout this country that is mobilized on a dime to have these rallies happening yesterday and today. And I thank those of you who've been out there and mobilizing for these movements, because it's so important to show our outrage. And some of you might not have voted for Barack Obama and knew that he was not going to be a great friend of the anti-war movement, and others voted for Barack Obama and thought that he would be more of a friend to the anti-war movement. But I think that all of us can say we are deeply shocked, outraged, and disappointed. And this is certainly not the change that people who voted for Barack Obama voted for. So I think at the end of this rally, let's write some notes to the FBI. They'll probably think they're full of anthrax and won't accept them from us. But remember, the FBI does work for us. Remember, we are paying their salaries, and they are supposed to protect us, not intimidate us. So let's write our recommendations of the top 10 homes we think should be raided, and let us show the FBI that we will not be intimidated, that we demand not only an end to these raids, but we demand an apology to everybody whose home was raided and everybody who now is supposed to appear before a grand jury, and that we are there to say to the FBI, anti-war activists are the heart and soul of this country, and we demand that we be respected. Thank you.
All you had to do was say, I believe they might be a terrorist organization. And what that did, that forced people to run to the corners. And when people run to the corners, they basically leave organizations high and dry, because it has a tendency to ostracize those organizations, those community movements. And we can't afford to allow that to happen. You know, all of us, I got news for you. In the eyes of the FBI, each of you who are standing out here, you're terrorists. You're terrorists. Why? Because you bring terror to the status quo. You demand justice when they demand injustice. You demand what is right when they are demanding what is wrong. You demand that there can as sisters and brothers with one another and not be enemies and fighting each other. And therefore we stand up for the right, they stand up for the wrong, and you give basically terror to the wrong way of existence. Oh, we're peaceful people. We want them to understand that. We're not talking about doing anybody any harm, but we are called to stand up for truth and for justice, and to stand as friends with all of those who are struggling, oppressed in the world. We got to stand. We got to stand. Why? Because we're in the belly of the beast. And we cannot allow this to continue to go down, because this is only, believe me, a test case of what's going to happen to every kind of solidarity movement, anti-war movement, pro-justice movement in this country. If we just allow these folks to continue to do this and no one stands up, then they're coming after you, Maury, and they're coming after me, and they're coming after you, Jane English. They'll come after all of us eventually. Why? Because we understand history, and we choose to stand on the side of justice, and we choose to be in solidarity with people who are oppressed. They will come after us, but I'm going to tell you, we will not be silent. We will hold these folks accountable. We will hold the FBI accountable. We will hold the administration accountable. We will make sure that justice prevails in the end. So it's good you're out here. Let us continue to stand up for justice and say, not another time will we allow it to go down like it went down before. Not another time. This is a new time, and we are students of history, and we are aware what the past, how it can intersect with the present and the future. And we say no, no, no. FBI attacks, no. New counter pro, no. Injustice, no. We stand in solidarity with people. God bless you.
Well, my name is Sarah Sloan, and I'm here representing the Answer Coalition. It's great to see so many people out here today, and to know that as we demonstrate in D.C., there are people demonstrating all over the country, from California to Pennsylvania to New York to Texas, and everywhere in between. Hundreds of people have been in the streets since these raids, and we know that thousands and thousands of people will come into the streets to condemn the raids and these attacks on anti-war and international solidarity activists. We know that when the grand jury convenes in October in Chicago, it will be what grand juries always are when they're used against the left. It will be a political tool that the government uses when they have no evidence. And that's the case here. These activists have done nothing wrong. The government is on a fishing expedition, and their true target is free speech. Their true target is the political right to speak out, to stand against war, to stand against oppression, and to stand in solidarity with our brothers and sisters who are struggling around the world, fighting imperialism and fighting exploitation. And so we must all now come together to support them and to continue to build this movement. And I also want to say that we should also behave just like they did if the FBI comes to us. No one should talk to the FBI. You have an absolute right, and you always have a right to remain silent, and you have a right to consult with an attorney, and you should always exercise those rights. If the FBI comes to the door, you should not speak to them. You should tell them to take their contact information, and then you should call an attorney. You should always exercise your rights. Your right to remain silent, your right to an attorney, your right to speak out and stand against war and exploitation and imperialism, and continue to support the activists who have been targeted until they are cleared entirely. Thank you.